Good afternoon, and welcome to the Stand Up for Religious Freedom Rally. We have some great speakers for you here today and some inspirational songs. So without further ado, I present to you the members of the choir of St. Mary's Church in Byron.
A little more freedom, so I'm going to remove the mic, but that's what we're about here today, right? Is freedom. I can't think of a better opening than we just heard from the choir, and even as I'm on my way to a trip to Nigeria in just a few hours, I want to share with you what this, just so everyone knows how important that what we're doing here is really significant, with 140 other rallies going on around the United States. And our country is still seen as the beacon of freedom, of religious freedom. As I travel to Nigeria, the reason they're having me come there is to speak about our great nation. And so we want to make sure that those, the mic? Okay. We want to make sure that those freedoms are protected, as America still is this shining city upon the hill. Let me give you a little background, just so you're aware. This is, as I mentioned, only one of hundreds of rallies going on around the United States as we speak. If you hadn't heard, which most of you had here, the Health and Human Services mandate that forces all employers to provide contraceptives, sterilizations regardless of one's religious affiliation, all employers, including Roman Catholic hospitals and institutions, Christian organizations, would be required to violate their faith and provide these. So I think we face probably one of the most important elections, probably since 1860, and I want to encourage all of you to vote. It's one thing to be here and to stand up and hear your voice. It's another thing to cast a ballot, and we need to make sure that all of you are, and I know as you've managed to get here, perhaps not only you, but bring someone with you to the polls, and that's going to be the most important thing that occurs here in just less than 2 weeks. Our Constitution to give us the ability to practice religion, not practice worship. If you've heard that term before, I hear it at the United Nations, I hear our president use it. This is not about freedom of worship. Freedom of worship, we all gather on Sundays and throughout the week, and we worship together. There are those that not only want to redefine the types of health care coverage to make us violate our religious rights, but they also would say that when we gather in a box and worship, that is the only time that we're allowed to express our faith. And that's what I hear not only from the Obama administration, but throughout the world, is this new defined title freedom of worship. No, it is freedom of religion. Our Constitution stands for that. And many of our founding fathers, regardless of whether they were Democrat, Republican, Catholic, Protestant, even my Jewish friends support the idea that our nation was founded as a Christian nation with freedom of religion. And that's why we're a nation of immigrants. I want to give you first a quote here from our San Francisco Archbishop, who says that we Americans can rightly be proud of the fact that the right to free and unfettered exercise of religion is a primary principle in the vision and the founding of our country. It defines us as a people and has uniquely contributed to making this nation great. So therefore, I want to urge all of you as citizens and all faiths, and even of no faith, and as I travel this country and throughout the world, again, the idea is that the people who are not even Christians support the idea that Christian values are what this nation was founded upon and what makes it great. So we need to defend this, our most cherished freedom. I want to share with you another quote, and probably many of you are aware of the great work that Priests for Life does and Father Pavone. And I recently spoke with Dr. Alveda King and others from the Priests for Life organization, and this is the response that Father Pavone is providing. He wants to make it clear, and I quote, "I want to make it clear today that we will disobey this mandate. Neither Priests for Life as an organization, nor any one of our administrative team or board of directors, nor I personally will consent to provide, pay for, advocate, counsel, refer, or in any way tolerate or cooperate with the process, plan, exchange of money or services, or any other activity that would enable a person to engage in the use of abortion-inducing drugs, contraception, or sterilization." And I hear the same from so many people around our great country, and now is the time that we need to rally and support them. Even in 1963, someone you might have heard of, Dr. Martin Luther King, said this: "The goal of America is freedom." Okay? One of the biggest issues that's being decided this November is not about jobs, it's not about the economy or foreign policy. It's the grave and mortal threat to our religious freedom, why you are all gathered here today. And it's posed specifically by this HHS mandate. I've heard many people put it this way, even Edmund Burke, even more recently Albert Einstein, when he was alive, said this: "The world has become a dangerous place to live in, not because of some evil men, but because of many that do not do anything about it." And I'm preaching to the choir here because you're all here to do something about it. So let me close with an inspiring quote that hopefully will carry us forward as we, again, not only gather today, but gather at the polls and gather throughout. I'll tell you, even the election itself, the work will, no matter who wins various elections at national and local levels, the work does not stop. And I want to thank Kevin Rylat and all, our MC and all the organizers here, because they continue this work even outside of this rally, even after we go and vote. There will be much work and a continued vigilance that will be needed. Our second president, John Adams, probably summarizes it best. He once spoke of the freedoms that were offered to Americans, saying that this about our Constitution: "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people." Religious people, did you catch that? Moral and religious people. Our Constitution does not work anywhere else in the world except for a moral and religious people. And that's why even you see problems when we try to export democracy. Without morality and religion, democracy doesn't work. He went on to say this. He said, "It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." And so I thank you for being here today. And I urge you to make this the first part of your continued activism. And thank you for being here.
We are people of faith who are proud to be Americans and feel blessed by God to live in this wonderful country. There may also be people here among us and at these other rallies across the country who are agnostic or even atheists, who join with us because they support the ideals embodied in the United States Constitution. And I stand before you as a newly ordained Catholic priest who does not believe my devotion to God should clash with my love of country and all it stands for to the world. None of us here today think we should have to choose between God and our country, the United States of America. That notion would certainly be ridiculous to our founding fathers, who fought a war to establish this country and then with great care wrote a constitution to allow their sacrifice to endure long past their mortal lives here on earth. George Washington wrote, "The establishment of civil and religious liberty was the motive that induced me to the field of battle." This great man, the father of our country, risked everything, including his life, so that we could all live and worship God as our conscience dictates. James Madison, considered the father of our Constitution, wrote, "Conscience is the most sacred of all property." The ideals contained in those two quotes are what bring us all out on this beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Rockford and in some 150 rallies across this great country. Each person who attends and supports these rallies simply want to preserve our right to live the teachings of our Creator as our well-formed conscience demands we live. Catholic bishops have written extensively on the infringement on religious freedom and point out that of the 10 amendments to our Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to our Constitution, the first right guaranteed in the very first amendment is freedom of religion. This is neither a coincidence nor the first time religious freedom was prominent among the rights of men and women. In 1215, religious freedom was the first clause of the Magna Carta, the document that more than any other influenced the writers of our very own Constitution. My bosses, the Catholic bishops, make clear that they and the priests and religious of the Catholic Church do not view this as a partisan political issue. But that, however, does not mean that the Catholic Church and her leaders have no role to play in the public discourse of ideas. To paraphrase the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., the churches are to be the conscience, guide, and critic of those who write and enforce the laws. Dr. King knew about the need of people of faith to stand up to the government when it infringes on people's God-given rights. I invite anyone with a computer to search for and read Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail as a source of instruction and enlightenment with regard to this movement. And if you know of anyone who may not agree with what we are standing here for today, I invite you to ask them to read it as well. Dr. King drew on the great minds in the Catholic tradition in that important letter. Quotes St. Augustine, "An unjust law is no law at all." For clarification of what compromises an unjust law, Dr. King quotes St. Thomas Aquinas, "An unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal law and natural law." Eternal law and natural law, just like our rights, come directly from God. Thomas Jefferson was clear on this in the Declaration of Independence, on both our rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, as well as the fact that our Creator, God in heaven, endows us with these rights. Thomas Jefferson assured the Ursuline sisters in New Orleans, whose mission was to provide health care to poor non-Catholics, that under the newly adopted U.S. Constitution, their religious freedom was safe. We assert our religious freedom should be just as safe. Our Constitution has not been amended. The only way it can be changed. Because this is an unjust law, we do not seek relief as we might a conscientious objector to war. We demand repeal.
That's right.
There can be no accommodation to unjust law.
That's right.
Amen.
Religious freedom is a civil right in every sense of the word. We are gathered here and across America because we know that if we lose this freedom, religious freedom, we lose our country. More than any other right guaranteed in our Bill of Rights, religious freedom is the very foundation of our great nation. I am not here to tell you how to vote. Catholic bishops state that engagement in the political arena is the role of men and women of the United States, the role of the lay faithful, all of you. I am here to tell you that if we are forced to choose between God and country, people of faith will see no choice at all. To quote Joshua from the Old Testament, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Thank you, and God bless you.